Thanks for staying with us. So joining the conversation now is the former Director of Operations of the Department of State Security Services, DSS, Mr. Raymond Nkemdirim. Welcome to the show. He's going to be speaking on the state of insecurity in Nigeria, Southeast security, rising cases of kidnapping, and he also maybe say one or two things about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. You can join the conversation on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. Welcome, sir, to the show. It's such a pleasure and honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So before we discuss insecurity, let's start with the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. It was yesterday, and many people commemorated that day, especially because of our fallen heroes and the family loved ones, the family they left behind. As a retired DSS, what are your thoughts on what the country has done? Has the country done enough to honor our fallen heroes and take care of their loved ones who they left behind?
Well, the fact that that day is set aside for honoring our fallen heroes is indeed a mark of honor by government and indeed the people of this country. But I believe a lot more still has to be done because we have seen a situation where we've had complaints by veterans and what have you. But I believe this constant or annual recognition of these fallen heroes goes a long way in showing the appreciation of this country to their efforts in keeping us together.
Right. Okay, let's touch on the...
Yes, you know, just a little in continuation of that, and we'd just like to know, I mean, DSS, also security operatives, they've also been caught in quite threatening situations. And I wonder, what do you think motivates Nigerians, born in Nigeria, knowing all the Nigerian problems, to want to be part of the military, the security structure of this country, knowing the sacrifice that they may ultimately make? What do you think, in your opinion?
I didn't get that correctly.
Okay. I mean, you have served also, you know, at the security, part of the security structure of our country. And I always wonder what inspires or motivates people like you and all the young ones coming now, in spite of Nigerian problems and everything we complain about, but the people still today wanting to serve our country, knowing that there's an ultimate sacrifice that they may eventually make. What do you think is that thing that inspires people like you to join our military and security structure?
All right. I would say very quickly, it's sheer patriotism. Now, I give you an instance for him.
Okay, so we're still having connection issues. We're trying to get some visuals and audio with our guests, but we're still having a bit of network issues. I have to go on a quick break. I mean, I've always wanted to talk to a DSS. So, you know, we've always talked about DSS in different categories. So I really wanted to get into the issue of security, how the operation goes, how they even gather intelligence. I would love to know that. I mean, these are things we'd like to talk to the DSS. So we really were looking forward to this conversation.
What do you have
to study to become a DSS operative? And because people always underestimate or undervalue the enormity of the work they do. So I think it would be great for us to see and hear from one.
They're always with the president. They're always with all the governors. They are the ones. They wear suits and they all do the.
That's the ones we see.
The ones we see, Abby. Yeah.
So hopefully we can get him reconnected. Hello, sir. Can you hear me now? Oh, glad. Okay. Yeah. So I think you already answered Mariam's question.
No, he was
about to start.
It's going to break. We'll be right back. All right, because we're running out of time, let's go straight to the security issues. Nima, you have a question for our DSS officer?
Okay, so over the weekend, this trended the story of the CUPP's boss head, whose house was raised in Imo State. I'm trying to remember the locality. And people came online calling for, you know, government help. What exactly is happening in the East? Because there was peace this December, everybody traveled. Are they hand-picking cases? Is there strong presence of IPOB? And what can you say government can do to abate this issue?
Did you get that question, sir?
Yes, I didn't know they were actually talking to me because I was looking at the screen. Now, the question is it about the security situation in the Southeast this Christmas?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, incidentally, I traveled home for the Christmas myself, and we recorded one or two incidents that really gave us cause for concern. I think our security agencies need to do a little bit more to ensure that we have total peace in that region. In this era of satellites and drones, it grieves my heart to see the way these criminals operate unchallenged. I think we have to up our game in terms of technology. It's not about just the men and equipment we buy. Like I'm one of those who would say I don't quite buy the idea of buying heavy military equipment at a time when intelligence is what we require to really bring the security situation under control. So I want to see a situation where government and its security forces place more emphasis on the acquisition of intelligence, the location of these criminals, fish them out, and clear the vision of all these insecurity.
Right.
I believe that if we do that, we'll have we'll have more peace to have our elections this year.
Okay, sir, I wanted to ask you, you spoke about going to the East, noticing some things. In the case of gathering intelligence, you mentioned also that in the technology of drone. So I want to ask you, do you believe that it is technology that we are lacking in our security apparatus, or do we need more boots on ground to gather the native intelligence interacting with people? What do you think is where do you feel the gap is, and which would you advise as the best strategy going forward?
Now, security is about being proactive and not the reactive type of thing we see these days. A lot more has to be spent on intelligence. Like, I wasn't particularly excited when I heard that the federal government bought 12 Tucano jets at about $459 million. And I don't think we put them to use any day in the course of all this fight. I don't know the details, but I think if half of that money is channeled to acquiring necessary technology for intelligence operations, I believe we can get this people out. But as long as we rely on facing them man to man, so long we will continue to have these problems. Because these people, it's an asymmetric warfare that we're involved in. These people are not sitting in one place. It's not like the Russia-Ukraine war where you know the enemy is coming from. The enemy resides within the community. And how do you fish them out? There is technology. So I believe government should place more emphasis on funding intelligence operations in this country, so that we don't wait until these people are attacked before we begin to look for them. If we have requisite satellite capability and drones watching over the entire Nigerian territory, I believe before these people move, we'll get them.
All right, sir, you know, what you're just saying is like a no-brainer, really, because Nigerians have been saying this for a while. Even when NSAS happened, one international news agency bought photographic pictures of things that happened at the toll gate. So these are things that we know that can happen. But for whatever reason, whoever is advising the government, the president, the national security officer, whoever is advising them is obviously not telling them the importance of technology, because many of us see, and we understand clearly, layman out there sees that it's not about having those boots on ground or having the Tucano jets. It's more about gaining intelligence, using technology to have a way to to be able to defeat these terrorists. So my question, therefore, as a DSS officer and as a retired, I would say, who do you think, how do we advise the president? Who gives the president advice? How do we get him to be able to address the real pain points of this war against insecurity?
Well, I place that responsibility squarely on the doorstep of the National Security Advisor. I believe it behoves him to tell Mr. President what security approaches are best for the country. And I believe that in the circumstances, intelligence is lacking, and that is where to go.
I have a question. See, you mentioned something very important where you said security is not reactive; it needs to be proactive. And you obviously, from your tone, it seems that you don't think that we're doing enough of that. And I would like to find out, you have been part of this structure for a while, even though you're retired now. Would you say that this is something that has gotten worse? The lack of being proactive, is this something that has gotten worse, or has it always been this way? And is it that it's in hindsight you're able to give this advice? Sometimes when we sit with people who are when they are in office, they don't say things like what you're saying now. They make it seem like everything is working, we're doing our best. And then when they leave office, you hear this. So is this something you notice when you're office, or is it when you have left office that you notice these things?
Well, let me answer this question by taking us back to the Chibok girl incident. Now, for us as security agents, at that time, I was in office, you would hear, the public, saying all sorts of things about the security agencies and not living up to their duties and responsibilities. If they were doing what they were supposed to do, they would have been able to rescue this girl. Now, for somebody on the seat, you feel pain. That you know what to do, but you lack the equipment. Most times, because we couldn't afford this equipment, we went into collaboration with foreign agents. But honestly, sometimes you get disappointed by the level of support you get. The truth is, some of these equipment that can help you do your job are quite expensive. Like once we invited what I would call a vendor, that is, they deal in surveillance equipment that can help us see all around our borders. And we said to them, look, you have provided security surveillance equipment for one of the countries in the Middle East, and no fly can pass through their border undetected. So can we have the thing? So we got into a discussion, and at the end of the day, after a very fine presentation, we asked him how much. For God's sake, the man said $20 billion. We were like, before you came to Nigeria, don't you know what our GDP is? Don't you know? How do you want us to pay $20 billion? So these things are really expensive. But through adequate collaboration, and let me say sincere collaboration, not adequate, sincere collaboration with these agencies, foreign agencies, I believe we can achieve a lot. The truth is, these equipment are expensive.
Right.
But honestly, if we have them, we'll
so let me throw a question, a very controversial question. I'll come to you, Nima. People always talk about internal sabotage within the system. Do you think there is, and if there is, where do you think we can start to tackle internal sabotage across our security architecture?
Well, the simple thing is what we call vetting, that is background checks. You have a lot of people who come into the security agencies with ulterior motives. Sometimes they just want to, they're coming there just for the pay. or they're coming there because they want to use it to facilitate whatever criminal activities they were into before. But if you do regular checks on your men, I take the DSS for instance. I had worked there for 10 years, and they have what they call a revetting exercise. They will go back to look into your record, how much you have acquired since you came, and all this is done discreetly. So in my own particular case, they have gone all the way to my village where I come from and asked them my date of birth, and they gave them a conflicting date of birth from what I had given in the office. And they took me off. So little things like that. Our security agencies must take things like this very seriously. Let us look at the men we have there. Because recently, we've had a lot of stories like the attack on the Kaduna barracks, NGA. We had some insiders were involved. And we're having so much of that happening these days. So I believe that we must continuously vet and revet our security agents to ensure that those we have in the system do not sabotage our operations.
Right, Imo.
So my earlier question was on the CUPP, the Coalition for United Parties spokesperson, Ikenga, whose family house was attacked in Imo State. I was asking, how peaceful can you say generally the Southeast is? And are they truly handpicking? Because he alleged that the state governor sent people to assassins to his house, and that they, arsonists as well, they burnt down his family house and killed his uncle. Is that truly the case up north, also in the Southeast? Are they picking up people, or is it generally that IPOB is just, causing the instability there?
Nothing can be ruled out these days, but honestly, by my own standards, I prefer to investigate things before commenting, because a lot of times what you see outwardly is actually not what is happening within, or it's actually not the real situation. So sometimes I tend to be careful how I react to some of these situations. But obviously, things are not the way they should be. In Imo State, I think a lot has to be done to correct some of the happenings in that state for now. But I just implore the security agencies to really rise to the occasion and restore full confidence in their operations in that state.
Amen.
Okay, so someone on Twitter is saying that, is asking questions. I know that you're not currently the DSS
Director.
Currently, there's the allegation that the DSS declared the CBN governor Emefiele wanted and for financing terror, and that we've not really heard anything. There are also cases where we hear, DSS picked up someone and it was not released for a long period of time, and they say the family did not have access. What exactly is the DSS role in, should the DSS be arresting people? Or what's their modus operandi? I thought before, when I was growing up, it was just intelligence gathering. But now I'm fine. We're seeing a different trend. So please just
Also, is DSS like CIA and FBI? I'd like to know.
Well, let me say quickly. The DSS is Nigeria's equivalent of the FBI in the U.S. Now,
They can make arrests.
When you look at the act establishing the DSS, it tells you that it has to prepare to detect and prevent threats to the security of the Nigerian state.
Okay.
That's why it's called State Security Service. It's not government security service or security service for any particular person. It is for the Nigerian state. So whatever action the DSS takes is in the overall interest of the Nigerian state. If I know one thing for sure, there's one thing the DSS said, is to conduct any operation for which it will be accused of any bias. There's no doubt that, yes, when you take certain actions sometimes, various interpretations will be given to it. But I believe that if the DSS takes any action that anybody feels uncomfortable with, for God's sake, there is rule of law in this country. If your rights are infringed, there's no need, for all the public bureau. I think people should, who feel their rights have been infringed, should seek redress in the court. But I want to believe that the DSS is one agency that is scared of public criticism or accusations of human rights violations.
Yeah. So, sir, given the position that you've held, I want your honest opinion. There's this thing that we're doing with what we call former Boko Haram insurgents, where we are forgiving them and pardoning them and finding ways to reintegrate them into our communities. Do you think that's a good idea?
Let me say outright, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I've had a lot of exposure internationally as regards fighting terrorism. And one magazine that is common is that the terrorists never repent. He will only pretend that he has changed for him to get to freedom. We have had so many cases where we released such people in the past, but we are talking them on the side of government and ask them to go back to preach, because we thought we had de-radicalized them through adequate literature which we had fed them direct from Saudi Arabia. But yet, when we sent them back out there to see how they could help convert their other members to the real doctrines of their faith, we found out that most of them failed us.
Right.
So I am not
in support of that.
no, I'm not well informed to that.
Let me ask you this question, sir, because many of us are very exposed to foreign content, and we see the FBI, they have all the data, call a name, and FBI will give you all the records, and they give you even the grandmother's first name or maiden name. Does DSS have information on all Nigerians? Do you have data? Do you have intelligence on where we are per time? Do you have some kind of surveillance where you know where citizens are? Or we're not there yet? Are we still using the manual way of whenever you now catch somebody, you now get their details? Or do you have that kind of secret data that nobody knows, and the federal government doesn't know that you have?
Yeah, well, one of the functions of the DSS is actually to conduct background checks on all persons of interest. So we don't wait until you become a criminal before we need to look out for your record. So constantly, we are updating our record on all the Nigerians. You'll be surprised that a large cross-section of the country, for a large cross-section, files are kept on all these people. So once perhaps a crime occurs in a particular area, from the records available, we begin to look at who are the likely persons of interest, and we begin to focus attention there. So these records are being updated constantly. And now, there's collaboration between DSS and all agencies that keep records of Nigerians, like Federal Road Safety Commission, the National Population Commission, maybe the police, and all other agencies, INEC, anyone that collects data on Nigerians. All those records are pulled together with their biometrics and everything. So the data is constantly being updated to ensure that when persons of interest come within the purview of the service, they can immediately have records with which to carry out their operations.
Okay, so you're a former director of operations with the DSS, and just earlier you were talking about intelligence, and now you have also said that the DSS gets the intelligence that we need as a nation. Why is it now that, so that since we have that agency, it seems we are not up to par with using intelligence to combat the security issues that we have? Is it that the DSS is not performing, or, there's possible sabotage within the DSS?
No, I've told you earlier that this is an era of technology. You need a lot of technology to function.
You're not using that.
But you don't have it. You don't have it. Now, a lot of our security operatives, for instance, they go on courses abroad. And when they go for such courses, they are tops. They come out tops. But then they come back to Nigeria, for instance, they kidnap. If somebody is kidnapped, for instance, in the US, within 24 hours, it's caught. And everybody will say, oh, those people out there are very efficient. But it is Nigeria, they can't do nothing. They are efficient because the equipment are there. I just give you an example of a surveillance equipment that we wanted to acquire. And they said, it's $20 billion. How do you start talking? But for instance, New York Fire Service alone, their budget in the year is $15 billion. Just the fire service department. So with them, with that kind of funds they have available, it's easier for them to function. So your men here are trained, they know what to do, but they don't have the equipment. So it's not a question of them not being effective. It's the fact that their tools of trade are getting more expensive, and we need some special intervention to really acquire what we can to assist, and also more effective foreign collaboration from the nations to assist us to tackle our current security challenges.
So when I hear you, you're saying we can't afford to protect ourselves. Is what I'm almost hearing. It's too expensive to be able to protect ourselves. And also when you say that, you talk about how expensive everything is, everything that's being imported, everything that is being brought in from another country. Are we looking, I've heard a few things that we've done locally, but are we really looking inwards on how to creatively find solutions to our insecurity problems?
My dear, we're looking inwards, we're doing what we can. If not, the situation could have been worse than this. You'll agree with me that, yes, a lot of times things have gone out of control, but within a couple of months, you find out that things begin to stabilize again. So it's not as if we're saying because we cannot afford those equipment, then we'll just sit down and fold. And no, we're improvising. All I'm saying is that we can do better if these equipment are made available. For instance, I heard you say something about the defense budget and what have you. We must also begin to see how our legislators can help to beef up the intelligence budget to ensure that since these are the equipment we use, this is what is being used elsewhere and success is being achieved, let us also acquire ours to be able to meet international standards in order to be able to contain our security situation. So the security agencies on ground are doing what they can within available resources. But then I'm just saying that it could be better if their funding is improved.
Okay.
In terms of intelligence.
All right, we have to wrap up. Let me just
I
final.
think last week we had the chairman of the budget on security. I can't remember.
House committee
on
this.
So and the conversation he said was also buttressing this, that we need to separate we need to unbundle the defense budgets so that recurrent is separate from capital expenditure rather than lumping it up together. But I hear you, and I wonder what what would you give as an immediate, what can we do in the immediate to reduce at least one of the biggest problems we have in security now is kidnapping. And what would you advise as the best form of reducing kidnappings from taking place, or even recovering kidnapped victims?
Well, honestly, for me, I think it's still about technology. Drones they have its form. So I think whatever operations we are conducting these days, we don't send men out there into operations without drones. For me,
Right.
I think that is one thing that is lacking. If we can infuse more of those drones in our system, they are not too expensive. Those ones are not too expensive.
Right.
So with that, I believe it will help our operations a lot.
We have to wrap up now. I mean, I'm so sorry that we couldn't see your picture because we're having technical issues. I would love to see your face. Maybe next time when we have you, we can better have a proper engagement with you. But we'll be speaking with the former Director of Operations, DSS, Mr. Raymond Nkemdirim. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.